Hello, welcome. So this is part 2 of the Deore DX M-071 shifter rebuild. So we're going to be doing the 7 side today. I'm presuming that, like the other shifter that I did recently on part 1, this may have another version inside. The mechanics might be different, which I found out in the last video. So we're going to open up this one, and if your one has another version, I won't be able to help you. It's possible that my older video was the other version though. Let's begin. Let's remove these 2 Phillips screws to take off the cap. There's a little bushing spacer there. Before you start working on this, make sure that the tension of the internal spring is completely down. So example, if your cam is stuck for whatever reason, they do get stuck, you'll need to lift up this pull and turn it manually or force it maybe if it's really stuck. For this, there's a nut here, number 10, you'll be taking that off clockwise. I'm also putting my parts in a kind of a grouping order, makes it easier to put back together. So here we have this plate that we're going to need to remove. The tip of the spring is right there. We can lift this up. There's then the return spring. There's going to be 2 spacers here, one gold one copper one, that's underneath. Now we can take off this lever. Between the lever there's a bushing. I'm going to leave that on there, and there's some kind of a pull. So we'll take that off. Is it rough? It's not that rough, but it can be. There's a little C-clip here to remove. I think there's a little, yeah, there's a little washer. Oh well, the little washer just fell into the meg. I have to take that off after. And at the bottom here, there's a spring. Let's lift this up. Let's lift up this lever. Again, there's a bushing inserted. Take off that seal. Another little fin seal there, but I can't seem to actually unstick it. It looks like if we want to go further, we're going to need to remove the bolt at the back to separate the unit. Yeah. Oh. Right, let's just go ahead and remove it. So I'm guessing this is pushed through. So here we have this spring. Short tip was going into the cam. You have a little washer here. This part is removable. However, I would avoid taking it out. If I remember, this is annoying to put back in. So just clean it as it is. It will simplify the procedure. I'm going to go ahead and clean mine. The easiest way is just to have a small little pot and some degreaser and just dipping in the parts into the little pot. And since if you've done like me, I've grouped things kind of how they came out, and then you can put them back on in order as well. I ended up dropping it and it's come out, but not to worry, the parts actually stay in, so you don't need to put them back in. And also, if you drop yours, this is the way you're going to put it. If you see this one here, there's that little pull that's quite loose, and there's one that's just smaller there. It's a tip. So that tip there is going to go into the last tooth, and the one here on the top is going to go onto this last tooth there on the sprocket. Trying to illustrate that, but you'll see it will engage like that, and you'll want it pushed in. I've cleaned all mine up, the small parts. I'm not looking forward to putting that spring here on this part, but for the rest it's fairly easy. I'm going to put some Shimano grease, which is probably a lot better than the original grease that was in this. And I'm going to put it on all the parts that are frictionless. I would avoid probably put it on here, because if I remember when I put some on a XT or even the DX, it stops it making that nice clicky noise. So I'm going to leave this fresh. I'm going to definitely put some underneath though. Right, it looks like it's not so hard. Take the cam, and the short tip of that spring is going to go into a tiny hole at the back. Make sure that's properly in. Now the other tip is going to go into right there. Before that, and before I forget, you have this little bushing with a groove. You can put that back into the cam. Right, once you've done that, now the tip's going to go into that hole there. So at one point we're going to need to tension that spring. That gap there on the sprocket is going to overlap on top of this, right there. You want to be careful this part not falling out when you're going to do the next procedure. You want to put this part through this shaft. There's specific teeth. You want to get it into the right teeth. So there's mine, it's going in. Put that all the way to the bottom. You're going to push against here, and what we're going to do is we're going to twist coming towards, I don't know, the anti-clockwise. If we're looking at it this way, we're going to turn. You need to make sure that this doesn't pop out. Turn, turn, turn. And then once you've got it to that point there where it engages, you can now push down, and we're done. You can now grab the top plate of the mechanism unit, and we're going to screw it back on. Should go roughly about here. There's 4 holes where you see the those type of tips there going into it, and in fact we're going to put that back onto the lever. There's a very thin washer. I've put very, very, very thin layers of grease on it. Same with this, thin layers of grease. So here there's the seal for the next lever. And once you put that grease on that lever, there's two holes again where those tips of those pulls are going, and I believe it's going in this way. There's then this washer that goes above here. Put a bit of grease on there. We've got then this spring. And that hook is going to go just there on that little nib. It's eventually going to go there anyway. And then we have this plate. So it's going to go in this way. It should be quite obvious where roughly where those teeth fit in. And the other tip of that spring, actually, just to say that now, that tip there is going to go in front of this tab. How we're going to do that, I don't know. It's quite... So I think just by pinching this side here, that hook part should stay in place, and then that will allow us to grab this and go underneath just about. Yeah. Okay, and as you can see, that's just snapped on. And make sure that's all laying flat underneath and not overlapping that spring. Right, put the brake to one side. Now we need this lever. We need to put the pull back on there as well. So there was a bushing that was running through there. You want to put a bit of grease on each side. So grab the spring. That short tip of the spring for this pull is going to go into the hole there at the back. We're then going to put that pull, and the other tip of that spring is going to go in front of that slit. Tiny little bushing, tiny little washer that went on top of that. And after we've got the C-clip, grab a plier. Make sure that works. Grab again the mech, the brake unit. You might need to recline this just a little bit back. It's going to be going against this tooth of the sprocket in this order. There you go. Make sure that goes in. Then we have a copper coloured washer. This gold one. Put a bit of grease on all of this. We now have the return spring. So the hook is going to go there. And I believe we need to put this plate in the correct order. Okay. It's here. And we're going to use a knife, and we're going to recline back the other tip of that spring into this slot right there. Okay, it looks like I got it. That's pretty nice to get in. Make sure that the spring underneath is not overlapping and it's nice and flat. If everything's good, we can now put this nut back. If you have a tiny bit of thread locker, we're going to put that on. I'm going to first test it before we do that though. So this will be anti-clockwise, I think. No, is it clockwise to screw on? Can't remember now when I took it off. It looks like it's working. 1, 2. Excellent. Right, so put a little bit of thread locker there if you want. Let's put the cover back on. Okay, so complete. Looks good to me. Hope this helped you service and repair your Shimano DX shifter. And until next time, peace out.